Should you buy a robot vacuum in 2023? Well, I'll cut to the chase. The answer is yes, but there are some things I found that are swept under the rug, if you know what I mean. Let's get into that. Well, let's start with the pros. Yes, a robot vacuum will clean for you with some limitations. So I purchased this Roomba i4 Plus. You can find it on Amazon, the link's down below, and I think it does a really good job. Now, the older robot vacuums kind of meandered around your house randomly, and they didn't do a very good job, but these newer ones pretty much can all map your house and map down different rooms, and that's really handy. Now, this iRobot i4 can save one map. However, in my experience, you can just let the vacuum explore and it'll do fine even if you don't create a map. A map is really good if you want to have it clean specific rooms or clean specific rooms on a schedule. Now, it's not as clever as the robot in the Will Smith movie. However, you won't get slapped and you definitely won't win any Oscars. More expensive vacs like this i4 Plus EVO have a dock where the vacuum empties itself and charges. The plus in the iRobot lineup means that the vacuum has a dock where it can go and empty the canister. And if it's doing a run and it's picked up a lot of dirt, it can head back and empty itself in the middle of a job and then go back and continue. Most robot vacuums can map your house. You can set no-go zones and the scheduling of certain rooms. The i4 uses multiple sensors to find its way around your home. It has 3 cliff sensors to keep it from falling downstairs. It has an infrared sensor to help find its way back to the dock and work with the virtual walls that you can buy separately, and it also has a touch bar sensor in the front. It's all controlled by iRobot OS, and they say it actively learns every time you vacuum. And you can schedule a vacuum so you can have it vacuum when you're not home. It's supposed to avoid pet waste and other objects on the floor. Here's a little present I'm leaving for the RoboVac. Maybe it's too small for it to see it. I guess we'll find out. A robot vacuum is great at going under furniture like beds, so you don't need to deal with ghosts and those evil little dust bunnies. Most robot vacuums will work really well on hardwood, and the better ones will actually do a decent job on carpet. Although it's definitely not as good as a traditional vacuum in that sense. The i4 has dirt detect technology, which senses when the floor is particularly dirty and will do some extra passes to clean up that area. It's also very good with pet hair, and it doesn't get tangled up because it has this dual roller design.
Fortunately, it's pretty easy to get these rollers out and clean them. Just pop this little guy out here.
The i4 doesn't do mopping, but this Roborock S7 Max V does. If you've got a lot of hard surfaces, that can be pretty useful. It's not as good as getting out a good old mop and bucket, but it does do a decent job at picking up things like pet hair. Isn't that right? But there are some cons to a robot vacuum. First, a robot vac is not really a replacement for a regular vacuum. Even though the i4 is supposed to have 10 times the suction power of the 600 series, it just can't really match a conventional vac. The motor isn't as big or as powerful. They can do a good job on carpet, but they can't deal with ground-in dirt. They are generally very good on hardwood though. I just sprinkled 20 grams of sand, cat hair, and cereal on both the hardwood and the carpet. Let's see how it does. The Roomba i4 picked up 90% of the dirt we left on both the hardwood and the carpet, and that's a pretty good score. So I think this vacuum is a solid player at its price point. Now, nobody wants to talk about maintenance. Am I right? He doesn't care. But maintenance is really important actually for all modern vacuums. So first off, the filters. On the i4, you need to clean it weekly. Now it's pretty easy, you just tap it against your sink or your garbage, and you do need to replace these filters every 8 weeks, so there is a little bit of an incremental cost. You also need to replace the bag on this i4 Plus. Now it will last a couple of months, and the aftermarket has some fairly decent replacements that are less expensive, but it's something you need to do. You also need to clean the sensors every now and then too, just to make sure that they are doing their job. And you'll also need to clean out the bin every now and then and the edge sweeping brush. And by the way, the i4 actually has a very good edge sweeping brush, better than some other vacuums that we've tested. Robot vacuums are pretty good for week-to-week, day-to-day cleaning to kind of keep things tidied up, but for the super big messes, you still are gonna need to bust out your regular old vacuum. So should you buy a robot vacuum? Well, I think it really depends upon your situation. And no, they're not sentient, not just yet.
Hey, speak for yourself, buddy.
If If you've got mostly carpet in your house, I'd say that maybe a robot vacuum isn't quite the right choice. But if you've got a lot of hardwood, a lot of tile, I think the time is right. You see, with a robot vacuum, it's gonna save you from doing the daily vacuuming, which I really don't like doing. It's gonna help keep your house kind of a little bit cleaner, and especially if you've got pets, it's really good at picking up pet hair. But probably the coolest thing about a robot vacuum is they're just kind of fun.
I'm a vacuum, I love to suck things off the floor.
If you want early access to these videos, if you want priority replies, custom emojis, you can join my Insider Vacuum community by hitting the join button right down below. It doesn't work so good on Apple mobile devices, you gotta go to your desktop. Thanks for nerding out with us today.
Goodbye.